On today's episode, we have one of my childhood friends, Tamas Kun. We have been friends since we were 15 years old. We talk about hitchhiking. We talk about ninja stars. We talk about tattoos. We talk about mushrooms. We get into some seriously intense topics, but it is fun, light-filled, even though we get into the nitty-gritty. Be sure to stay tuned to the end. You're going to absolutely love this episode. And most importantly, like and subscribe. Wherever you are and however you are listening, thank you so much for being back with us on another episode of Winning the Moment. Today, I have one of, I want to say lifelong. That's longer than it's been or shorter than it's been. But one of my first friends in Southern Utah with me, Tamas Kun. Tamas, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
I was thinking today, because I was trying to think back to how old we were when we met. And we must have been 15 because we didn't drive because we were hitchhiking.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. What grade did you move here in?
I moved here before sophomore year of high school.
Okay, so yeah, we were 15. I was older for a grade, so I think I was turning 16 a little bit after we met.
You got a
white car.
Yes,
Yeah,
the old
the
cop
boat.
car.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And a story that we have to tell now. Do you know what it's going to be?
When we got pulled over?
Yeah. So Thomas in his big white police car, we're driving down the road, and he almost hit some bike cops. That was their fault. They were riding on the wrong side of traffic. And so we're driving, and mind you, we're going 35, 40 miles an hour. And the bike cops flip on their lights, and Thomas stops for him. And mind you, they are what do you think, a mile behind us by the time we see their lights?
Not quite a mile, but they were far enough away that we could have just kept driving at that point.
And had they ever found us, been oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, how would I know?
But of course, as a 16-year-old, of course you're going to pull over.
Yeah.
I don't remember, did you get a ticket?
I don't think so. I think it was a warning. I think they were also kind of confused at why we did stop because they didn't expect that we would.
That's probably true. So
yeah,
it worked in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Thomas and I, first time ever hitchhiked with anyone was with you. Not something I would have ever done in Wyoming, but here it seemed perfectly.
Not something I would do now. But
no, certainly not now.
Yeah.
And we used to go to Walmart and hang out
or we would call Jimmy John's, get a sandwich delivered, and then hitchhike with the driver to get a ride to the rec center so we could play basketball.
I forgot that. You're right. That is the ultimate hack. So we kind of invented Uber in a sense.
Yes.
So for the listeners, Jimmy John's delivers sandwiches. And this was way before Ubers and everything like that, because we're talking year 2001. And so we would order a Jimmy John's sandwich. When the guy showed up, we'd be like, hey, could you drop us off at the rec center?
and it puts them in a bind, right? Because if they say no, will these guys still tip me? You know, so it's
well, and we know what Jimmy John's it came from, so it's dude, it's literally on the way. And we probably ordered a slim four, a $4 sandwich.
So we got food and a ride. It was a good 2-in-1.
Oh my God, man, those are good memories. And funny thing is, so Thomas and I, our group of friends, were really, really fortunate to. I mean, I don't know other people have friends like this. I don't think it's a common thing. But we've got this incredible group of friends who have stayed friends for, we graduated in 2005, so it's been over 20 years, and a lot of the friendships go back even further than that. And we're all going to Lake Powell to go to our fantasy football weekend. It's something we've done every year we've actually been doing that now for, I think, 15 years.
That's a long time.
Did you go to the first one in the penthouse suite at the Palms? Were you there for that?
I did. That was the first one.
So.
That was the last one I went to. So yeah, that was the only... So I guess I went to the first one, and I'll go to this one.
I was going to say, I remember you
that.
being there.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was the greatest suite of all time. I feel like I remember you at other ones, though. You've had to have come when they were up north or something.
No, so when I moved away to California for 10 years, that's why I think our friendship is also great, because in that 30 group of friends that we have, we've all lived somewhere else. You went to Texas. We didn't see each other for probably 10 years.
And Arizona.
Right. So we don't see each other for 10 years, but then you see each other and you pick up right where you left off.
Well,
there's no,
You talked about Danny Loveland. I only ever see him. The only time I see him is at this BTS weekend.
Okay.
But it feels like we're just as good of friends now as we've ever been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm so excited to see him, Rio. I'm excited to see everyone, but those are the two that I never get to see.
Yeah, never. It's so great. So speaking of California, so you wanted to be an actor for a bit.
I did. I've always loved stories. When I was a little kid, I think Robin Williams was my favorite person.
Yeah.
Because he's just all about heart, vulnerability, and storytelling.
Yeah.
So I did move there for 10 years and try to be in that world. And
was he your motivation, do you think?
One of them. I think there's so many movies and stories that I love.
Well, and you and I loved movies. Like we would always go to the movie theaters and like we'd go to one and then stick at the other ones, you know?
Yeah.
The first time I ever snuck McDonald's into a movie theater was with you. And I think it was Elf. And we put it in our hoodie, like in the hood.
Yeah, in the back. Yeah. It's convenient. It's like a
now it's like
pouch.
Now it's normal. People eat like the movie theaters sell regular food.
Yeah. Or DVDs. We both had like a lot of DVDs.
All the DVDs. I recently found it like when we moved back from Houston and we had like, my dad's like, you got to get this shit out of my garage. Like all these bins. And I had hundreds of DVDs.
Yeah.
Hundreds. I thought that was such a good investment.
I did too. And I still have them. So I'm always laughing. Like if something happens, internet goes down, like, you know, people will be at your door. Like, let me borrow a DVD.
Okay. Top 3 movies of all time for you.
Oh, that's so hard. There's so many movies I love. I think Dead Poets Society is
I've never seen
a beautiful movie.
Wow, I've never seen it.
With Robin Williams. It's really, really good. What was another one?
It's hard to rip it off
It's
the
hard
cuff,
to do 3. One of the ones that still make me laugh to this day is if you watch 7 Psychopaths.
I've not seen that either.
It's funny. It's Colin Farrell, Christopher Walken, and Sam Rockwell.
Okay.
Who plays one of the funniest characters ever. It is like you'll die laughing at how funny and different he is.
Well, I remember you and I finding Van Wilder together.
Yes.
And that was like, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
That was like, I think it was his first movie.
Oh, and he's still just as funny,
just
as quick,
as dry.
Bitted. Yeah, I love. Yeah.
Okay, so 7 Psychopaths. Dead Poet. You went way more like
Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society. What's the other one?
Another one, maybe like I don't know. Throw Lion King in there, right? Like you could throw on the Lion King and still cry and have an amazing time.
Yeah, the kids' movies are so good.
Yeah,
you know, I'm lucky because my kids, I still get to watch them and I enjoy them. You know what I mean?
I still watch them, but with my dogs, but still.
And didn't you go see? You went to Broadway and saw. Was it Aladdin?
I saw Book of Mormon and I saw The Lion King. And those were both like...
Yeah, I want to take my kids Lion King next year.
Lion King over there is life-changing because it's amazing and it's been there for, I think, 20 years now.
Oh, it's been on Broadway that long?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Book of Mormon's old too, right?
So funny. I mean, those two are some of the funniest people. Book of Mormon's old, but they won a lot of Tony Awards for that one.
Is it a musical?
It's a musical.
Oh, that kind of like, that's where...
That's how I felt. Because I love stories and acting and all that, but musicals I have a hard time with because I'm not musically talented.
Yeah. Never been into them.
Greatest Showman, have you seen that?
No, because it's like a musical, right?
Dude, if you watch that and you don't like it, I will buy you dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've not watched that one or the one with Ryan Gosling, I think. That was like super famous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really big.
La La Land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know either of those.
I didn't watch it.
Couldn't do it. So when I went to New York with a friend of mine earlier this year, and he was like, he really wanted to go to a Broadway show. He'd done it before, and he was like, it's awesome. And I got him to go to the Knicks game with me and went to a 76ers game. And I was like, all right, dude, like I'll do that, you know, begrudgingly. Ended up being, I was just telling someone this last week, it may have been the most locked into any live event of my life.
Really?
Well, yeah, because think about it at a sporting event, right? Even when it's the NBA finals that I went to with Breck, like there's timeouts and there's dead balls and like even during the game you're talking to each other and you're having conversations. This you never spoke to anyone. You did never look at your phone. You were just like truly into it, you know? And so I don't know that I've ever been more engaged to a live event of any sort that I was in Broadway. So after that I called Megan. I was like, we've been missing out. We blew it.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's fun to walk around. The food's great. People are actually nice. I don't think people are, New York type people they say are kind of come off as an asshole, but they're just doing their own thing. And if you talk to someone, they're actually really, really nice. Like they'll help you around.
I'll say this. We have a property we work with in the Northeast. Those guests are unlike any guests I've ever experienced in any other part of the country. It is wildly different. So I don't know if it's like a hospitality thing or what, but those Northeast guests are different. Expectations are different.
Yeah.
The way that they talk about things are
They're
different.
very honest. They're not going to be passive
true.
aggressive. They're going to tell you like, hey, clean our fucking room, or you know.
Yeah, they absolutely will.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. Okay, so you didn't give me your third favorite movie.
I thought it was Lion King, Seven Psychopaths, Dead Poets Society, but there's so many. I mean, there's, you know, dumb holiday movies you rewatch, like Elf. Elf is so funny.
So good. Got to watch that one every Christmas.
Serendipity is really funny. It's
what movie do you think you've rewatched the most in your life?
I'm trying to think. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
One of my favorite movies as a kid was the Twister movie.
Oh, okay.
And that, I grew up in Wyoming, so I saw Twisters.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen many tornadoes in my life, you know? So the new one came out, so I watched the old one with Cash, and he loved it. But then, like, the new one, he was like, the trailer, he was like, it's too intense. And so I was so excited to watch it with him, but he's like...
Have you not seen it?
Not yet. He wanted to wait until... Because Megan was gone last weekend, so he's like, he wanted to watch it with both of us. And we couldn't watch it upstairs. We had to watch it downstairs.
They did it justice. It's
Did
really
they really?
good.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
It's done really well. I thought it was funny. It was really good.
And movies that really stick out to me in my childhood that were like, oh, those were different, are Twister, Independence Day.
Okay.
And I think those came out like at about
around
the same
time, like late 90s.
Gladiator.
Well, the comedies too, if you think about like Dumb and Dumber, and then you think of Tommy Boy.
Well, think of like Superbad. That's a little bit later.
Superbad, yeah. Like those guys are our age.
And you couldn't make that movie today.
No. Or Tropic Thunder, you can't.
Oh my
God. Yeah.
You could never. I mean, and what's awesome is all those guys are like, like it was funny.
Yeah,
you know?
I think they did a podcast and Robert Downey Jr. was saying like, you could make it, but and Tom Cruise in that is so funny. Like I didn't know he had that.
He was even in it.
He is unreal funny in that.
I feel like I need to watch it again.
Yeah,
guy was just talking about it with someone like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, man, I think I need to rewatch it because I don't remember it.
Yeah. No, Basketball is one of them too.
Oh my God.
I love Basketball because Matt and Trey are one of the funniest people, and I watch anything they make. Yes. I love them because they make fun of everything.
I had actually like a basketball reference just like ended up on my Twitter this week and like brought me back to...
Which one?
I don't know. It was just like a picture of it and they were like making fun of some current day thing, you know?
I had never heard of this movie, Blake, and I watched it like 2 weeks ago. I was like, what is this? I don't understand. He's like, South Park? And I'm like, what? Where has this been? How have I never heard of it?
Oh, those.
So what did you think?
So
did you think it was funny?
Yeah, I was laughing. It was a good one. And I didn't realize how many memes have come from that movie. They're all over now.
That's funny is I probably don't realize it either. It's been so long. I probably
those guys go with current events, and if you still watch their South Park specials now, I think on Paramount.
Oh my God, did you?
The Lizzo. They're so clever.
So do you know that after that episode, you know, where it was like, what was the joke? It was like, I'm on Ozempic. And it's like, I'm
I can't
on
afford
Lizzo.
it.
So she, since that episode, like went like media silent, like media dark.
Okay.
And she just finally posted, and it's a video of her in the gym, like getting fit. And it's like, good for you. You know, like, let's stop pretending that being fat is healthy.
No, it's not. And at the same time, like those guys don't have parameters, right? Like they'll make fun of anything. And that's why I like them, because they'll make fun of themselves. They'll do anything.
Well, the best comedy is comedy that will make fun of both sides of the aisle, all races.
Yep.
All of it. You know,
make
like
both political parties, they throw under the bus. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yes, I thought that was interesting. That like just happened this week that like Lizzo finally made a post and it was like her in the gym grinding.
So you know those websites where you can donate and then maybe spend time with like a celebrity or go to like a movie or something. So there are these charities that they do. And one time it was Matt and Trey for South Park, and I remember I was in California and I donated because I was like, that is the one thing
that you would actually do.
Yeah, like you'll get to meet him and, you know, go hang out for a day and see how they do South Park, because they do it in like a week, every episode.
Oh, wow.
They don't plan it. Yeah.
Oh, it's just like they just let it rip.
Yep. And then they have a lawyer present, from what I've heard, because the lawyer will be like, you can't say that. Like when Tom Cruise and R. Kelly are in the closet.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so funny because they're like, well, you can't call him gay, but you can. Well, what if we put him in the closet and just say he won't come out? And it's so funny because they just find their way around it, but somehow it turns out to be more funny. I don't. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I would love to try and make a show
Oh, I love those two.
Like
They're
a
so
comedy
funny.
like that,
Yeah.
you just need fucking laughter, you know?
You do, and I think
So
if you laugh at
serious.
everything, like we'll always laugh at each other, we'll make fun of each other, whether it's in
100%.
pickleball or basketball. Pickleball's such a blast, but there are certain times where we look stupid.
Oh, so dumb.
Yeah.
So stupid. I was thinking about when I whiffed that one, it went off the top of my paddle.
Or where you go to really hit it and then you miss, right?
Oh.
Like you completely miss.
Did you bring a paddle?
No.
I forgot.
Oh, we're going to play?
What? I thought McCrae said bring a paddle. Oh, he said you have to like
He
set
said
up
we
a
have to
net.
bring a net and chalk, and I was like, that's no.
So what you're saying
Yeah.
is there's a flat concrete surface somewhere.
I laughed with him. I was like, why don't we put on a tournament at a Walmart parking lot? You know?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
charge everyone.
So speaking of pickleball, Thomas and I have discovered this sport together, really. How long has it been now? 3 months, maybe?
Maybe even that. I don't even think it's that, but yeah.
Fully into it.
Dude, it's so fun. And you know, by stretch sport, because doubles is not anything crazy.
Yeah, but it's amazing how tired I still get.
Same, I think, because of our age, and you know. Because if you think about it, like,
Yeah, it's a small box you're running in.
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm too lazy to play tennis, but I have a little more energy than ping pong, so like,
Yeah.
let's find the median.
I love it.
Yeah, I
There-
think it's a blast.
There were pickleball courts at the hotel in Florida I was just at. And one of the guys there was like, oh, we're looking for like doubles tennis. Do you want to play? And I was like, fuck no. But I'll definitely play pickleball, like 100%. So
Yeah.
they ended up finding a fourth person for tennis. So we ended up playing golf instead. But at this
funny.
point for me, like golf and pickleball are like neck and neck in my
Really?
enjoyment. Yeah.
See, I did like tennis growing up a lot. So I still like tennis, but pickleball to me now, I love because it's so fun and we could go play for 2-3 hours.
That's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
And it brings your friends together. And like
Yeah.
now we're getting to like, well, not really quite there, but the seasons will eventually, it'll start to not be so hot soon.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait to play outside and like,
I know.
Not be
You were
dying.
gone this week and we played, I think, Monday or Tuesday.
how was it?
Dude, it's so fun. It's just a
Who'd
blast.
you play with this week?
I'm trying to think if it was Monday or Tuesday. I think Monday we went to Summit, but the lights like went out. So
Oh,
we were
shitty.
frustrated, but there were 8 really good players because Jared brought a bunch of people.
Oh, okay.
And then Tuesday, so other friends, right? Like Braxton Elliott, Casey
Yeah.
Kennett.
Casey
people that
Kennett?
you don't, think of.
Yeah, I
Corbin
hadn't
Sharp,
seen Braxton
like,
in forever.
so I played with them and that was a blast
Yeah,
too.
that's
And
so
it's just
fun.
fun to get people together, and even if you're not good, you can still be good in doubles. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
hard.
If you have a good doubles partner
Yeah.
and your other one's just learning, you
Yeah.
can still have a competitive match.
Yeah.
You know, Corey will make sure he gets over there and gets those
Dude,
shots
Corey's
for me.
awesome. He's so fun
So
to play with,
good.
and he's so nice. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, so when I met you at 15, really fascinating for me because you came from Hungary.
Mhm.
And so how old were you when you guys immigrated to the States
So I was 10 and a half.
and spoke no English?
None.
And I know
Nope.
your mom didn't.
Mm-mm.
Did your dad already speak English?
I think a little bit, because in Europe, the way they do schooling from first grade till graduating class, you take different languages. But I think to him
Okay.
it stuck because he was always in the restaurant world and he traveled a lot over Europe and he speaks like
English
5-6
is like
languages.
the natural. Oh, he does?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, so you come over at 10
Mhm.
and like what are you thinking as a kid in that time? Is that exciting? Is it scary? Like what does that feel like for you?
I think just confusing, right? Because it was dad drops me off at school. I don't speak, a word of English, and
So
it's
you
like
go to school
figure it out.
and don't know what the fuck's going on.
No, but do you remember Dale? And so Dale, one of our good friends, Dale,
Yeah.
he'll be there this weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
So 4th grade, I go in and there's recess, and in Hungary, you play soccer, you do other stuff.
Yeah.
So we start playing basketball, and there's this kid, shaved head, but he has the Bulls logo shaved in the back of his head.
Oh my god, I remember doing that as a kid.
Because his brothers did that to him. He has like 6 older brothers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where the fuck am I? What's going on?
Did you had you played basketball before?
No, never touched a basketball. And then I
Wow.
remember we played and we hung out and I got to learn basketball. And basketball, like, how much I love basketball
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It became one of those things where like, this is amazing. I don't know what it is, but when the ball hits nothing but net,
Ugh.
it's just like,
Or you get that move, or you hit
Yeah.
a sick layup, or a game winner. It's
Yeah.
amazing how good a game winner feels with just 10 Joe Schmoes playing to 11. But that game winner, it's like
it's so addicting because
so
you're like
good.
it's about that moment. So like winning the moment, like that's about as close to in the moment as you can get.
No doubt. That's why I love sports.
Same.
You can't do anything else but be doing that sport. Like if you're playing pickleball, you can't think of anything other than exactly what you're doing.
If you're in your head, you're not gonna win.
Never.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think it was Shaq that they talked about his free throws in practice.
Oh yeah.
He shot like 90%. In games, he was so in his head.
Wow.
50%.
Yeah, I always tell people like when we're golfing, someone who's like okay at golf, they're still in that process of getting it. My best advice is just don't think.
Yeah.
Like don't think about how to hit the ball. Just fucking hit it. Because instinctually as an athlete, you get it. But the second you're like, okay, keep my foot down, shift my body weight, then it's like it's not gonna happen. It's like that. Did you ever watch the movie Tin Cup?
I love that movie.
So when the caddy's like, put this tea in and put some change over in this pocket and like and did all this goofy shit just so he would stop thinking.
Yeah.
And then he hits a great shot.
Cheech.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then how long did it take before you could start like communicating with your friends?
So it was really awkward because I remember they would take me out of class in certain classes and this lady would come and do you remember those cards that like A or SH makes this sound?
Yeah,
or,
well, also our language is fucked.
It is, and it doesn't, it doesn't make sense.
Hell no. I can't spell worth shit because the rules don't make sense, you know?
But I basically went to the library and an hour or two a day, they had this lady come that would help me with sounds. And
Did she speak Hungarian?
No, nobody, because Hungarian's not
of course,
really.
Yeah, how many people, like who's like, oh, I want to learn Hungarian?
Yeah, it's on my resume. Will I ever get a job because of it? No. Like, but she would come and we would do that. And then I would read The Boxcar Children.
Okay.
So it's this series of books and
like for kids to like young kids,
but it basically is the reason that I think I know English. I'm sure I would have learned it a different way.
Yeah.
But that was what I stuck to. Yeah.
Well, I can't even fathom having to be in that. It's hard enough as a kid to go to a new school, period. You know?
Yeah.
Because I changed schools a lot as a kid. I went to kindergarten, new school for 2 years, new school for 2 years, new school for 3 years, then middle school for 3, then high school for 3.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard enough. And I speak the language and understand the culture and everything, you know? So that means when I met you, you'd only been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. That's not a lot of time.
It's not. Mm-mm.
But there was no language barrier or even accent at that time.
No, I think so. I was really forced to learn English. So I think in 4th grade, we actually moved to Escalante at the end of 4th grade.
Oh, you did? I never knew that.
So by the time I moved to Escalante for 5th grade, I already spoke English. Or like I was reading.
That's pretty fucking amazing.
But I think it's just because as a kid, you pick up things so fast and, you know, you don't have an option. And like, I want to go play with friends and I want to go hang out. So I'm going to have to
And you want to
learn.
fit in. So I don't remember how you did in school. Was it difficult to learn or did that impact you at all? Like, how was that?
I think in Europe, schooling's a lot harder. So end of first grade.
Especially for Utah's.
Oh, yeah. No, in Europe, so 1st grade ends. If you don't know how to read, write perfectly, you're not going to 2nd grade.
Oh, wow.
So here in 5th grade in Escalante, it's a very small town. There's a lot of kids that don't know how to read or write. And I'm just kind of like, oh. So in school, but it's not that I didn't do well, but I didn't really have structure at home. So I never cared to do well.
Because like your parents didn't care because they didn't even like know what was going on.
No, and they were just working, you know, as an immigrant, like they were working. That's why we hung out at my house so much because there were no parents.
Were never home. Yeah, that's true. I never saw your dad, like ever.
Me either.
Yeah. That's not supposed to be funny. But I didn't. I only have like limited memory of your dad. Yeah. Like hardly any. And even your mom was always working. Like she was there more, but very rarely.
No, and I respect her more, I think, because they did go to work and they worked the same hours. But when they got home, she still did all the housekeeping. She still did all the taking care of us. And I still feel kind of bad because back then, you know, like I didn't clean my room or do my laundry. She did. And looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have helped, done more. Yeah.
Where was your brother? Because your brother was never around either. So if you were 15, how old was Attila?
So he was 19, and I think at that time he was graduated because he graduated in Escalante. So by the time we moved back to St. George, I think that year, I can't remember when he went. He went into the army. He moved to LA. So he was, living his life. For? Probably 4 years.
Oh shit! So you missed like a good window of time there.
So I moved back here in 8th grade. So just 2 years before you moved here.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were there the whole time, like in Morningside.
No, and then Dale and I picked up right where we left off. Yeah.
That's how our friend group does it.
Yeah.
Man, what a crazy thing. Were you in that same house that whole time? Like when you came back from Escalante, was that where you lived?
No. So our first place in America that we lived is actually the little townhouses above from Harmon's, the small Harmon's on River Road.
Oh, okay.
So if you go above there are these small townhouses and...
Can you see those ones from the freeway?
Yes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Do you remember how I would throw ninja stars in the wall?
Yeah, of course.
I did it at that house too. So I would throw them in the wall and I would put up a poster to cover it thinking like no one will ever know.
No, for the listeners, no shit. He actually had ninja stars because I remember you had a waterbed.
Yeah.
And so we'd throw them at the bottom of your waterbed.
Yep, the wood part.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Most of my memories with Thomas are throwing ninja stars, playing NCAA football, watching movies, and listening to music, like downloaded illegal music.
Yep. LimeWire.
Yeah, LimeWire. That's the one. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wonder, obviously in America right now, we have like a huge border crisis. So I wonder what your perception is of that, given that you were an immigrant. And I don't know, I'd imagine you guys came through in like the appropriate channels or whatever. Maybe you didn't, I don't know.
We did. So my dad came to America, someone hosted an event at our restaurant back in Europe.
Okay.
And there was that group that goes around. It's like this cultural group from BYU that puts on shows.
Okay.
And he came back and he came to visit that family because they were talking about America and he came out here. And then when he came back, he just went off about, America's so great, cowboy western, everything.
Yeah.
And at that time we were actually trying to move to South Africa.
Oh, interesting.
I still don't know why, because I was just a kid.
Yeah.
My brother has theories about somehow drug-related stuff, my dad importing stuff out of Hungary to South Africa, because we moved to South Africa. But...
So you lived in South Africa too?
No. So we packed up and we went to South Africa. So between the time our flight took off and we landed in South Africa, our visas got pulled.
Oh my God.
So we landed and security would not let us in. So at that time, my dad actually called the Hungarian consulate, or head of the Hungarian consulate.
Yeah.
He knew him well. They wouldn't let us in. So we went back to Hungary. And then within a couple of weeks, I think my dad kind of hustled the Mormon church. Like, yeah, we believe it. We got baptized, did everything, and then just kind of got them to host us. To come out.
No shit. So you got baptized as a kid in Hungary.
Yes.
And then utilized the church to bring you guys here.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't ever know that either.
Yeah.
And so you would have been the baptism age because you were like 10. So normally they do
what
it
a
like
good
8.
age to make a forever
Obviously.
promise. That makes sense. Yeah.
Full of course. I make all my best decisions when I'm like 8 for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Cody, you can't have that. When you were 8, you said...
Wow, that's okay. So why did your brother think that there was like a drug related trafficking thing?
I think my dad imported stuff in and out of Hungary, and I don't know if it's coffee or something that's related to it to hide the smell. But he was obviously older, because if I was around 8 or 9, he was probably 13, 14. So I think he saw
he
a
was
lot
just more aware
stuff
than you were. Interesting. Yeah. Do you believe that?
It's hard for me to believe it because it's a puzzle I'll never figure out.
Yeah.
And I'll never know. So to me, it's like, I don't want to try and put a puzzle together that I don't have all the pieces to.
Nor does it really matter at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you guys then end up coming to America via the church.
Yep.
Interesting, because what you did, right? You were an immigrant. You weren't an illegal immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think about all these people coming across the border and like what's happening with that? What's your opinion of all that?
It's hard for me because it's a different position, right? I was a kid. B, I think it's always hard to speak for people without being in their shoes.
Sure.
Because if you have kids, I don't have kids, but if I had kids and my option was to legally do something so my family's safe, or not do anything, you bet your ass I'm going to cross that border,
Sure.
So it's like trying to put yourself in their situation. If maybe we made it easier for them to do the proper channels, or a payment plan. I don't really know how any of that works, so it's hard for me to speak.
To have an opinion of it. Yeah, that makes sense. What I've heard now is that, and I have who knows if this is real, because you can't tell if anything's real anymore. In fact, do you know who Matt Rife is?
Yeah,
the comedian.
Funny. Yeah.
Say he is funny. He's better at making fun of the audience than he is at telling jokes. I feel like if you watch his like banter with the audience,
that's the only thing I watch. Unfortunately,
it's so fucking funny. But he did a Netflix special, and I was like, it was okay. but him making fun of the audience and like riffing with them, amazing, like super quick on his feet, right? So I think that's his like comedy superpower. But he was on Joe Rogan, and there's a clip of, do you know that fat comedian who lives in Baltimore? It's like Stavos or something like that.
Maybe. It's not the guy that does the machine thing, is it?
I don't think so.
Like the shirtless guy?
He probably takes his shirt off. He's super fat and funny and like has long hair that's super thin.
Yeah, that narrows him down.
You're thinking of Bert Kreischer.
No, that's not him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's who Thomas is.
Oh, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Let me find this.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, his name is like Stavos. He's got like a mustache.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's this guy. Oh, he's so funny.
Yeah, he is funny. I like him.
hilarious.
He was in something I just watched.
So he was on Joe Rogan, at one time, and so was David Goggins. And then there's this guy who like puts funny clips together. And so he made it seem like David Goggins and Stavos on Joe Rogan got into it. And David Goggins is like, you're a fat piece of shit. And Stavos is like, but I like being fat. And so Matt Rife is like, man, so they got into it, huh? And thought it was real. Did not realize that it was a completely like edited thing.
Yeah.
And so to my point to be, I don't know if it's true or not, but from what I understand is that like the illegal immigrants are getting like $15,000 on their food stamps, where like American families who are struggling are getting like $300, you know? And then in Oregon, they just did a thing that if you're an illegal immigrant, you get $30,000 towards your home. But then there's like the people like my sisters who are grown adults who I don't know if they'll ever be able to get a home, you know? So it's like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
But it's kind of like you said, right? It's hard because I think how we talk about processed food, apply that same thing to information, unfortunately, because whatever your information you get, that's all you have to go off of.
I know.
And I'll never know. Because I could say, oh, I heard this thing in New York, and it could be completely made up.
I know. Isn't that wild?
It
like you
sucks.
really can't trust anything.
No, you can't. It sucks. It's hard seeing
unless
that.
you've experienced it.
But it's funny because to say that we don't want immigrants, to me, is kind of like, well, if you want to talk about it, we came as, you know, white people. We came here and we eradicated a whole race.
Yeah, but so did everybody.
But the so did everybody thing is, you know, like
we just won.
Yeah, it's but it's not pretty, and it's like to have
but
empathy towards
neither were
other
any
people.
culture. You know what I mean? Like look at the Mayans. They like what they did. We weren't like cutting people's heads off and rolling them down a temple, or maybe we were. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think everyone. It's interesting when people get in that like, oh, or colored past. It's like, dude, we all have it.
Yeah,
like,
but I think
every
acknowledging
country's
it, right?
Yeah.
Because in school we weren't taught about all the nasty stuff we did to Native Americans.
Man, I feel like I learned. I feel like we knew.
But I feel like everything you teach in school is like how we helped people that didn't ask for help.
I mean, I think that I remember them talking about like the clashes and the wars and like them fighting each other like for land. You know what I mean? Then over the history of time, everyone has been fighting for land. I mean, they're still fighting for land today.
Yeah.
Russia and Ukraine are literally fighting for land. So I feel like that just is what happened. You know what I mean? Like, and even like slavery. It's like slavery existed way before it existed in America, and it still exists in other places. You know, at least we fucking stopped it. We got our senses about it, you know, at some point. What's really funny is there's a talk show host, a colored gal. I can't remember her name. And they did a DNA test, and she was saying how like anyone who had slavery in their lineage like is evil, you know. And turns out she had her family owned slaves.
Really?
Sunny Hostin was her name.
Okay.
And so she had to be faced with this like, because they kind of all did, you know, like at some point in your life. And also, why would I be responsible for my great I have no I can't have anything to do with that.
I think acknowledging it is like the biggest thing, right? Being like, that was a mistake. How do we get away from ever getting close to that?
And it's interesting too, because we can only be in control of the lives we have. And so certainly I've got things that have given me many benefits in my life. And there's people who have had more benefits than me. And there's people who's had less benefits than me. But people always end up at different places based on what their benefits are. I mean, look at you. You came over from Hungary at 10 and didn't even speak the language and built a great life for yourself. So it's like there's certainly people who had it easier than you who are doing way worse than you are right now. You know what I mean?
Or harder. Yeah, it's that snow globe effect, right? Like everyone's focused on their own little universe. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about today, obviously you've got some intricate birthmarks
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what was like your initial drive to do the tattoos? Like, and did it start with one? Like, did you get a tattoo and then it became what it is? Or did you go into it with the intention of like, I'm canvassing myself?
I went in with the intention of getting one word put on my arm.
No shit.
And
where was this? What part of your life was it?
I think I was in my mid-20s.
So you're in LA?
So I waited. No, it was here.
Oh, it was here. Okay.
It was here. But I remember even in high school, do you remember how we draw on our arm or write on? Yeah. Like, I just always thought, oh, that's really cool. It's like artwork.
You and I always drew the stars.
Yeah.
Which I still do today. Like, if you look at my work binder, it's like all stars. I'll still do the S.
Yeah. No, I think it became one of those things where I always thought it was kind of like a neat way to scrapbook. Because sometimes it's easy to judge, right? Like, you'll see somebody and they'll have a pumpkin tattoo on their arm and you'll be like, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
And then you talk to them and you find out, oh, their parents passed away on Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's like scrapbooking your life.
Yeah.
So to me, I have my dog's names on me.
What was the first tattoo you got? What was the word?
Oh, it was I think it was around the time where, who is it that wrote those books?
J.K. Rowling?
No, those are some of my favorite books, though. Love those books. The one where Tom Hanks did a movie of, I can't think of it. Like the Illuminati stuff.
Oh, okay.
So there's words that are anagrams, I think. So you can turn it upside down and it says something else.
Oh, yeah. Are you thinking of National Treasure, that movie?
No, but I love that one.
So good. It is so good.
But yeah, so I had these words where one was like strength, upside down it was courage, faith and hope, love and life. You know, the typical stuff you find at TJ Maxx. Yeah. But I remember I loved him and I went in and this really cool tattoo artist, Chris Little, he has his own shop. He's really nice. And I went in and I was like, I'm thinking of getting one of these words. What should I get? He's like, why don't you just get all three? And I was like, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So I put him on my arm. Yeah. So I put that on my arm and that was my first one.
And where was that at?
That's over here. So it's still there.
Oh, wow. And they're big.
Yeah. So they were pretty big words to start.
I mean, that's a massive fucking word for your first tattoo.
Yes. So that was my first one. And then
Did you
just
like
grew. Getting it?
Yeah.
No.
Because some people like it. You know what I mean? Some people are like, oh, I kind of like the pain.
It doesn't feel good, but I'm also not the type to be like, oh, this hurts, I'm done.
You know what's interesting is I don't remember what it felt like.
It feels like someone's, okay, like we wrote on on our own arms, right, in high school?
Yeah.
Imagine writing with like
a needle.
A needle.
Well, when I did this one.
Yeah.
So like he did the outline first and I was like, fuck. Like the outline's pretty cool. Let's just do that. And then when he colored in the big island right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that right there was terrible. There was my one on the wrist right here. It was like I got into a conversation about basketball. Mm-hmm. So it's like I didn't even.
See, Danny and I had that one too. Remember that?
You guys drew it on your arms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I was the first one.
You were, yeah. When we lived together in that tiny, tiny house.
Yeah, at one point we had me, Danny, you, Brian, Tyson, Micah. We had six people in a 3-bedroom.
Yeah, Micah had his own room. Tyson, Brian, and I shared a room. That was the 3 twin beds.
It was just a bed. And what's funny, it was in the same complex that you lived in high school.
Yeah, I went home and I was like, I'm moving out. Yeah. And then I would walk like 20 feet to the new place.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did those 3, and then what?
And then I just kind of decided, well, I kind of want, a half a sleeve, or I want a full sleeve.
Yeah.
And then slowly I started adding other ones. Like they were never like, oh, I'm getting this whole arm done.
Yeah.
It was I would get a tattoo here, and then I would get, something here, and then I would add on to it.
Do you know like what the number is if you were to like say I have X amount of tattoos, or is it too hard to say?
One very big one.
So you're all covered except for one leg, is that right?
Yeah. So basically, from my top of my thigh down to my left leg, that's the only empty spot I have left.
Well, and because you even have your head tattooed.
I have
right
my
here,
head,
which looks super badass, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, I have the side and the back of my head tattooed.
What hurt the most?
So your tailbone when you fall on your tailbone.
Oh, your ass is tattooed?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
So how close around your genitals does the tattoo go?
Not that far down. No, like my whole leg is covered and my ass is, but yeah, I don't have penis tattoos or anything.
I was wondering. Like, I wouldn't have put it past you.
No, that would hurt. Yeah.
Do people do that, do you think?
I think they do. Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay, so what do you have a favorite part of the tattoo?
No. Sometimes I forget I have them on my back or my head because I don't really see them as often, but I think I like my leg one. That's my last one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bunch of hexagons, and then within the hexagon there's actually a picture put together like a puzzle.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it's Japanese the wave, basically from the top of my leg down to the bottom.
Do any of them is there one that means more to you than others?
No, I mean, there's quotes. I have Ellie and Autumn written on me in ancient like Hungarian runes.
Oh, that's cool.
And then my head one's actually Hungarian runes too, by the way.
I knew that the one on your head was. Yeah. Oh shit, that's cool.
So that's Ellie, and then that's Autumn. Yeah,
that is so cool. So, could you at any point read that?
No.
Okay.
No. But I try to cross-reference it like
I was going to say, are you
OCD.
sure it doesn't say tomato soup?
It's the ingredients to tomato soup. No, I went on like 10 different websites. I printed everything out, cross-referenced everything, and I actually emailed it to like a Hungarian professor.
Oh, wow.
But I went through and I just figured out the alphabet. So then from the alphabet, I put it together on a computer.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Ellie on the way in. So obviously you've had Ellie for how many years? 13, 14 And that's
years.
like, we were talking about kids and what do you call it? Anchor points.
Yeah.
Anchor points in your life. So you want to talk a little bit about like the meaning of how important she's become to you in your life. And
oh, she saved my life.
Yeah.
So at the time I lived in Las Vegas, I was kind of by myself. I was just trying to figure out life, like what I want to do.
How old were you?
Mid-20s.
Okay.
Or no, early 20s when I moved to Las Vegas. Early 20s. And I was just trying to figure out life and trying to figure out what I want to do, where I want to go. But I was very, very depressed to the point where it was probably the lowest low of my life. And I think the reason I moved from here is because I could see it affect people around me. And I didn't want to be a burden.
Your depression?
Yes.
Really? What's interesting is like we got on the subject at the gym because I was telling you about another guest I had. But I never would have ever put depression and you in the same category.
It's because I'll isolate myself because if I am somehow really sad, I care about you, so I don't want you anywhere near me.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've never had a time with you where it wasn't joyful and fun.
Yeah.
I would have never put you in that box. So you're saying in St. George, you started to feel that and you...
Like, why am I here? I don't have a reason to be here. I never asked to be here. And depression's hard because it's easy to be like, choose to be happy, choose to do this.
Yeah.
But I read a quote and it's kind of like, imagine being colorblind. All you see is black and white.
And they tell you to just see color.
No, they tell you like how beautifully colorful the world is.
Oh, sure.
So you're sitting there and you just can't connect the dots. There's no way for you to connect it. And then it just led me down this path of, I never wanted to be here. I don't have a reason to be here. I just don't want to be here. But I don't want to hurt myself because if I hurt myself, the people that care about me, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
So at that time, I remember being on the floor of this apartment I was renting from kind of like my uncle.
Okay.
Nicest, hardest working dude I've ever known in my whole life. And I still had the samurai swords and all that stuff. and most people get to a very low point. I got to a point where I had those, weapons at my disposal, and I just sat there and I really just wanted to kind of like stab myself and just be done.
Wow.
Because I just wanted out.
Did you get to the point like you had it in your hand?
Yeah.
Were you...
To this day, I have a scar at my chest where I kind of held it and I just didn't have...
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that would be such a violent way, like that because your mind won't let you do it, right?
Yeah.
Were you intoxicated? Did you have... No. Wow.
I don't drink. Yeah. I still don't drink.
But I wondered if maybe you didn't because like that took you to a place.
No, it was just me just being finally like, I just don't want to be here, but I also don't want to... It's hard because you can say that I either didn't have the courage to go through with it, or people are like, no,
that seems like a fucked up thing to say.
But that's what my mind would tell myself. But then people would be like, you had the courage to stay. Yeah. And it's hard to kind of figure out what...
Seems like it's way harder to stay if you're in that state than to leave.
Yeah.
Obviously, putting a knife through your chest would not be easy, but...
Yes. But then I had this phone call the next day from Brian, who's also going to be here this weekend. And his parents lost their dog that they've had for 10, 15 years, Abby. And then Ellie, who was named Dixie at the time, they knew how much I loved her. She was about 2.5 or 3. Yeah. He was just like, hey, my mom said that they are wondering if you would take her in. They don't want to get rid of her, but they just don't know what to do. She doesn't want to, like, she's not going to give her up unless it goes to someone like you.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because at that point I had no anchor points.
Yeah.
I had nothing to hold on to want to be here.
Yeah.
So I actually drove Brian, met him halfway, and to this day I always go by that exit from here to Vegas.
Wow.
The Logandale exit, met him there, put Ellie in the car, and I remember driving back, and if you know Shiba Inus, they don't like anyone. But I've known her since she was a puppy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're driving back to Vegas, and I remember her just sitting there in the front seat in my Jeep Cherokee, and I'm just driving back, and I have nothing and no reason to want to be here. And I just looked at her, and I just had this moment of like, cool.
You're my reason.
You're my reason. You're my anchor point.
Wow.
And she put her head like on my hand. And that's why, to me, that dog means more than anything in the world.
Isn't it amazing, animals' ability? You know, like what they can, like the intuitiveness that they have. Like she could probably feel that hurt and knew like you needed that love, you know? Yeah. So we were talking a little bit on the way here, so now I kind of know the answer to this question, but I actually think I thought you were atheist. But you explained to me on the way here that you're agnostic, and I was talking about like, well, do you believe that a higher power put Ellie in your life to save you?
Yes and no. I have different opinion on what a higher power is.
Yeah, whatever word you want to use, but something defined.
Yeah.
Some like
some sort of entity.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that it was literally
the next day
after your darkest moment. Yeah, and probably hours from, you know, like 12 hours or 10 hours from this really dark time that you needed her, because maybe if Brian didn't call, maybe you do get the courage.
Yeah, I don't think I would have stayed.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe that it's egotistical to say you know something.
Sure.
Regardless, whether you say there's no God or this is, you know, my bearded God, whatever. Because nobody really knows. That's what was one of my favorite chapters. I think it's one in your book.
Yeah,
right?
I know nothing.
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we can't even comprehend what that would be, because if there is some sort of entity, nobody knows, and you can't comprehend it because your life is, what, max of 100 years?
Yeah, I'm probably going 104.
You'll be playing pickleball. It adds 9 years to your life.
No, does it?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm going 113 because I was always 104.
Yeah, which is the reason why I might quit. I don't want 9-1.
So is that still a struggle for you then? And let me just say this too, because obviously that was I couldn't believe it when you told me, you know, because I would consider us very close friends, and I just like, I would have never had that concern for you. You know, there's people in your lives who you're like, maybe like, oh man, I'm worried about them. I would have never been. And so I think, you know, the most interesting thing from the podcast that I found is how many people are struggling with this, and why I think conversation is so important, because knowing that like someone who I care so much about was going through that and I didn't even know, like I hate even knowing that. And so I wonder, how long did you hold that in for before like you shared that with people?
I think the first time I shared it was in acting class.
Wow, what an interesting place for that to come out.
It's therapy. If you go to class, it is therapy. It will kick your ass.
Well, you got to be so vulnerable,
possible,
right? And you just got to like, that's why it's so fucking hard.
And not even in situations that you're used to, right? Like if I said, hey, let's go shoot a movie about basketball, how excited would you be? Yeah. If I said, hey, Cody, let's go shoot a movie about World War II, you're going to be a Nazi, how much would you struggle internally?
Yeah, right. To have to get into that mental space.
So it's like emotionally, you go through everything in class.
How many years passed from the incident to when you shared it?
probably 4 or 5.
Did it feel good to share it?
Yes and no. I don't like, it's a burden, right? Because if you tell that to someone, now they're going to worry about you. And I never want to affect anyone negatively.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's hard for me to want to put that onto somebody. So I don't really want to share that stuff.
What's interesting for me is I'm not worried about you. I would just now hope that if you feel that way, that you would reach out if you did. You know what I mean? But I'm not actively worried about you.
Yeah.
But depression is such an interesting thing. It's a thing I don't understand because I've just never had it. You know? So like to me, it would seem so simple as like change your mind, change your life. You know, but my perspective is different.
Yeah.
Because you can tell me, having experienced it, like, no, it's not that easy, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because I just don't understand it.
I think the way I've coped is to the point where I try to find anchor points in my life.
Yeah.
Ellie was the first one.
Yeah. And now she's old. So are you like
she's
concerned?
16.
Are you concerned about that at all?
I'm
like
terrified.
Like, what does that look like? Like, what kind of support do you need when that's her time?
I have no idea. I'm terrified.
Have any of our other friends, are they privy to this story? Or is like, will some of them find out if they listen to this?
Somewhat. I don't really like to share that story that much.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's one of those things where I'm terrified for losing her, not because of what I might do to me, but because of how it'll affect me.
Yeah.
Because she's meant everything to me for so long.
Yeah, she saved your life.
Yeah.
Oh man, it seems like we should have like some plan of action.
Yeah, it's hard to plan for something you don't want.
I know.
Yeah.
Because if she's 16, she's got to be on the...
she's 2 years past her life expectancy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's I figured about 14 years probably for that kind of breed. Oh man, well, let's make sure that we have all the support.
Yeah.
Well, and you have another dog. I know it's not the same.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've tried to kind of find those anchor points, but then mushrooms, psilocybin.
Yes, I was going to ask you. So, like, what have you found to be the most effective thing in your pursuit of like getting out of that space?
Every 6 months to a year, I actually like taking a mushroom trip.
Okay.
Not necessarily because there's different ways to do it. Some people like to go party, go to Burning Man. I think it's all wonderful. Whatever you like, do what you want as long as you're not harming anyone.
Yeah. What's your goal, right?
Yeah. Mine is to do that because at that time, if I do it, it might be with a friend. Like last time, one of our good friends named Cody, we did it, but I love, you watch like a documentary on animals or the world.
Yeah.
It kind of helps me find more anchor points.
Okay.
So every 6 months to a year, I do a mushroom trip and I try to, you'll cry, you'll laugh.
Do you microdose at all, like in between that time?
No, because I think I would become just, I don't know. Like I've tried microdosing, but I just don't like it because it kind of numbs everything. But I don't want to use something to numb things.
Yeah, because like you don't drink or anything, right? So you're not a number.
Yeah. I'll take gummies a couple of, times a month.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what's your biggest, like, mushrooms is like scary to me. Like I want to do it, but a part of me is like, obviously I haven't yet. So I have this natural apprehension to it. And I think it stems from my desire to be in control. Right.
Yeah.
And like I'm very calculated and like I'm a very strategic person as well. So it's like it's all by design. And I know if I take mushrooms, the design goes away, at least for that period of time. I don't know what I'm afraid of, but I'm afraid of something. Because like I even got it, like another friend of ours got me like a really good chocolate bar that has it. So like I
know the guy.
Yeah. So I have it, and I don't know. I'm just not gonna say his name, but I have it, and it's there, and I've had it for like, I bet I've had it for 6 months now.
He'll be in the car today.
Yeah, but I've not done it. So then it's like, and then I think the longer I wait to not do it, having it like builds up that anticipation of like, well, fuck,
My advice is do it in nature.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah. So you have a lot of ties to Springdale and Zion.
Yeah, right.
Go get a nice cabin.
I know that's what I talked about it with our friend. Well, and the thing is, I read this book. It's called The Shake Your Sleeping Self. It's about this guy, Jedediah, who rides his bike from Oregon all the way to Patagonia. And he, in that book, shares a story of like being in the hillsides in Argentina and doing mushrooms like out in the wilderness. And I was like, fuck yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. You know, that's what I want to do. And I don't even know what I'm trying to discover necessarily. I don't have like an agenda of like, oh, I wonder if I'll learn this thing. I think it's just opening up the possibilities of like, what does my conscious mind not allow me to process?
I think it will force you to let go. Because as far as like strategic thinking and all that, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Because I'm very OCD.
Yeah, you and I both share that trait. Yeah, for sure.
Which can be wonderful, but at the same time, it makes you want
a blessing
control.
and a curse.
Yeah. But I think my luck out was I didn't really go in it with any expectations. It forced me not to only let go, but it made me have a very oneness experience.
What do you mean oneness?
That everything is, you can argue religion until the day you die, but everything is made up of one thing. So we're all the same.
Yeah.
So one consciousness, however you want to look at it, like you were made from, you know, if it's a bearded guy up there, he made you from the same thing he made everything else. So it's, I had a very oneness experience, like whether that's, you know, listening to trees breathe. It's weird stuff like that.
That's crazy.
It's like finding beautiful little moments like that. And then you have a oneness experience of a sense of, if you look at the sand in Dubai, there's 7 billion people. We're all little grains of sand, so we don't matter.
Yeah, that's certainly true. You think that you matter, but in the grand scheme of the entire world,
you're speck.
Super insignificant.
Yeah. So you don't matter. However, 7 billion people, we're all different. So there's beauty in it.
Sure.
But finding what works for you. Yeah.
That makes me wonder, so what do you think happens when you die?
I have no idea. Whether it's someone told me that, well, if there's nothing, it's like deep sleep. And I'm like, sweet, that sounds nice.
Sleep's good.
Yeah. If it's some guy being like, Cody, we're not going to let you in because, you know, you called this person whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens. I'm open to whatever happens because I am agnostic. I don't think I know.
Do you think you live more than one life?
I could see that. That to me sells higher, like reincarnation.
I'm pretty into it. I'm like, and so Megan and I, we were in Mexico on my birthday. Have I told you this story? And a friend of ours, the same friend with the mushrooms, he sounds like a drug dealer. He's not. He's a normal guy.
I hope he brings some.
Yeah. So he gives me this dropper, and it's Delta 8. It's like a derivative. You know what Delta 8 is? A derivative of marijuana.
I've heard and seen and tasted. Go on.
And it seems to be, from a person who's not done it, but it gave me an experience that I would deem closer to what you're experiencing than like if you were to have an edible or something, right? And so Megan and I are on this beach together. It's my birthday. There's 35 of us in Mexico for my birthday. We're at a club that's like on a beach, and she had done it too, and she was like tripping. And so like we went out to the beach, and we're talking, and she said this thing, and I was like, oh my God, you just unlocked the key. She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I've been looking for you since the beginning of time. And we promised each other we'd find each other, and you would say this thing. And then that's when the universe or whatever would allow me to know that I found you. And I was like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like, is this how you always feel? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like crying and laughing. I'm like, oh, it's a lot, you know? And so I am convinced that I've been with her since we were in Egypt, like in that prehistoric time, and have been looking for each other for millennia. And maybe we did find each other at other times, but whatever reason, she said this phrase and unlocked this thing, and it was like this rush of emotion, and it was like this surreal experience. But I believe it to my core. Like that's my reality. And I know that I couldn't have gotten there had I not been in a space to allow that to happen. Because
what a beautiful thing.
Right? It was honestly the most beautiful. Like people were like, oh my God, are they okay? Are they fighting? And they came down, they're like, are you okay? And I'm like crying and laughing. And I'm like, yeah, I just found her. You know? It was like,
see, and that's why I like Delta 8's closer to mushrooms than like
that's what
regular
I thought.
gummies.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's why I like those, but I think they're beautiful things that help develop new neural pathways in your brain. Yeah,
okay. So I know there's all that science behind it, right? And all these things that you can do. I gotta get into it. I've only heard good things. I've yet to have someone who's done it come on and be like, oh, it was. Well, I had someone who said they had not a good trip, but it was productive in their lives. They just didn't enjoy the journey they were on at the time, right? And so I don't think my fear is about that. But would you say that it made a difference in like your depression? Like, did it help you?
It has.
Because you're creating those new neural pathways, do you think? So like creating long-term, or not happiness, but like abilities to work through things?
I think it helps in that way, but I think it also helps you shed like a lot of your ego.
That's right. That's a big part of it, right? Because so much of, I would imagine, depression is ego-based of like, I'm not this or I'm not that, or who cares?
Yeah. So that's what people don't talk about, is that they think ego is, just the confident guy going in a house and being a dick.
Yeah.
Ego is also the one that is super depressed and is a victim. So like everything's binary.
Yeah, because it's lesser than. It's like, I'm not as successful I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Ego.
I thought my life was going to be this way, and now it's this way. Like depression, I feel like, is rooted in our egotistical selves, which we all have. Sometimes our ego shows up in power and strength, and sometimes it shows up in like depression and weakness. So
it's a lot of times like you're traveling on this road, and all our minds are either, your book talks about it too.
Yeah.
You're 5 years ahead, 5 years behind.
Yeah, right.
Mushrooms kind of help you center to be where you are at.
Well, and I don't think there's anything more important in life than being where you are. I think it's why we love sports so much.
Yeah.
It's one of those few moments in time where you're not somewhere else, because so many times in life you find yourself living in the future or the past. Like for me, if I'm watching a show, which I seldom do, so it's like if I'm going to take this hour out of my life to do this thing, and if I grab my phone and like look at Twitter or Instagram, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I can't even be presently here, so I don't care about this thing, obviously, And it's like I've never been playing pickleball and been like, I wonder what's on my Twitter feed. You know what I'm saying?
But that's why sports are great, because it forces you, right? It pushes you in.
And even things like this weekend, because we're going to be like entrenched with these deep, lasting friendships.
Yeah.
And if we're having a good time, then no one should be on their devices.
That's true.
So we'll see. We'll see who's president and who isn't.
That is true.
So how is a couple more questions on this, because it's an interesting topic, and then we can wrap it up. But is depression still something that like you have to actively combat on a daily basis?
Yeah,
it is. So what do you do for that?
To me, like, I know you don't watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of shows
because it's an escape.
It's an escape, but also I tend to bring on the feelings that come with that show.
So that's why you love like
Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
that's my favorite show, because it's not only happy-go-lucky, but they go through a lot of shit in that, in like season 1 through 3.
Well, and I can relate to that, because when Micah defrauded me and I lost all my money, and I was depressed then. So it's not something that I live with, but in that moment in time, I felt like my life, and I'm like, 20 years old. I felt like my life's over. I couldn't see a pathway out of it. It was this deep, dark hole. And the only thing that brought me like a semblance of happiness was watching Rob and Big.
Okay.
That was like that, because it was all funny and all jovial and like friendship. And it's like that 30 minutes was the only thing that could pull me out of like, just only thinking about that, because I spent every other minute of the day thinking about that fuck up.
So at that time, that was your anchor point to get out.
100%.
So so I try to find different things like that. And honestly, like little things like pickleball, my dogs, my girlfriend who I love, she's in Washington. I love going up there.
Oh, the Pacific Northwest is just
so pretty. It's amazing. That's my end goal, is to somehow live there. Yeah. You have the ocean and the forest.
I don't like when you say that, but
St. George is hard. It's hot. My dogs don't love it.
Yeah. The Pacific Northwest is truly just unbelievably beautiful. I mean, it is just incredible.
Oh, it's Whidbey Island is my favorite
I looked it
place.
Up. It's just like,
because you have a cove of beautiful water, and then behind you is like the prettiest forest in the world. So I'm like, oh, this is what I want. How do I get here?
Yeah. No, but I totally get it. I'm absolutely drawn to that. Like a place like that too. I want something like that, a place to escape. Well, Tamas, thank you so much for your vulnerability. That's a hard thing to share, and I know that there's listeners who that's going to make an impact on them, and the thing is, like, a lot of times you don't know who's watching or who's listening or if it even matters. And then you'll get someone who will give you like a piece of feedback of like, oh, I was really struggling. I listened to this episode and it really made a difference for me. And so hopefully your vulnerability will make an impact on somebody, and I'm sure that it will.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this weekend.
I love you.
Love you too.
All right, dude. Okay, that's a wrap.